Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is 1 p.m. here in Crystal Lake, Illinois. That means it's time for another live stream. Today is Tuesday, September 19th, 2023. I'm pretty sure it's Tuesday because I had my usual Tuesday meetings today, or I guess it's every other Tuesday that I have this meeting, but I had that today, so it means it must be Tuesday. I'm a little off because I haven't gone on my run yet for this morning. It was not pouring rain, but it was raining pretty hard, and I figured, I think I can go after live stream today. I think I might have time for that, so haven't gone for a run yet, and I'm a little bit off. But something that always recenters me is sitting down for this live stream podcast with you guys. And I do want to take a moment to say hi to everyone listening on the audio only version. This is I think right now we're number 58, 59, something like that, running podcast in the United States. I appreciate all of you guys that are listening. The number really doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that you guys are here and enjoying it. And hopefully you're having a good run and not getting rained on. And for everyone that's watching this later, but not live, you're watching the number one running live stream podcast that unboxes something every day. And that also happens to be really good to have with your coffee in the morning, if that's when you're watching this. Welcome to you guys as well. All right, let's see what we got here in the chat. Frank says, what I love about this time of year is that 92 degrees Fahrenheit days feel cool. All that blood plasma volume, doing good. Okay, yeah, it must be really hot where you are, Frank, because there's no place in my mind where 92 degrees Fahrenheit is cool. But I do know that in southern parts of the United States, like Texas, 92 has been like a low for you guys, right? Which is just absolutely bonkers to me. Hopefully you guys are surviving. Runner Will says, yay, catching it live. I love this place. It's good to see you, Will. I'm glad to have you here. Daniel Burton says, I ran 2.45 and then rode my bike 3.5 with hills today. That's pretty nice. I think I'm going to have just an easy day for me today. I'm going to take out the Triumph 21 RFGs again. And I really did think about it because that's the shoe I was planning on running in today. And I was like, all right, well, I've already filmed one time with that shoe running in the corn. Now I need to show one time running in the water, like it's raining, like water, soil, corn, maybe I was like, that's a little bit too much. Just running through a cornfield is plenty. All right, Sean Devlin says, hey, everybody, and hit a quick Peloton ride this morning. Wife's traveling and everything's unraveling. Isn't that how it always goes, though? Yeah, I feel for you. And Sean also says, you know what? The Mach 5s and the Noblesse 3s need to be replaced. Do I buy Super Blast instead? I'd say if you want to try something different, the Super Blast is certainly a fun choice and can be used in a lot of similar ways. But have you tried the Rebel 3s? I feel like that's a good option. It's going to feel lower to the ground. It's going to feel like it's bottoming out, but it's not. And I use them pretty much identically to how I use a Mach 5 or a Nova Blast 3. Robert Krieger says, set a new half PR last weekend. Awesome. But he missed his target goal by 20 seconds. Still not a sub 100-minute halfer yet, but at least I'm sub 101 halfer now. Congratulations, Robert. You got to take those PRs when you can get them. Congratulations. And those 20 seconds, I mean, you're there. You're there fitness-wise. It just means you got to line it up on a different day. You're there. Don't worry about it. All right. Ranjit Singh says, nice to see you. Are you running the Chicago Half Marathon? I'm very interested to meet you. I'm in Chicago for marathon and half marathon. I'm not going to run the half marathon, but I will be running the half marathon. So hopefully I'll see you around. Friday is going to be some non-running meetups. I forget what time it is. I think it's going to be Friday evening and then Saturday morning. I don't have precise times yet. And I'm guessing a lot of those times won't come out until after the Berlin Marathon this weekend, just so as not to confuse people or to, I don't know, take some shine away from the Berlin Marathon. Berlin Marathon, lots of stuff happening this weekend, not with me, but other people, and then like stuff that brands are doing. And then after that, then you'll probably start seeing some dates where we're getting very close to announcing firm times and having links to sign up for stuff. All right. Let's see who else we got here. Mario J says, are you running the F3 Lake race next year, the F3 half marathon in the winter? I'm assuming that's what you mean. I think F3 is the race company and they have many races, right? But the one that I'm familiar with is the half marathon. That is a half marathon at the end of January in Chicago along the lake. And it's typically a very cold race. Although I once had a half marathon PR there because it was like 40 degrees one day. And then the next time I ran it, it was 14 degrees Fahrenheit. That was not a PR day. I ran in ski goggles. It was so cold. But probably not. I don't know when the date is, but January is already looking to be very busy. I typically go visit my sister and my parents for the new year. And then I've signed up for the Houston half. And then there was something else my wife and I were just talking about that I have to put on the calendar. That is going to also happen in January. And then February is going to be busy. First weekend in February is the Olympic trials for the marathon for the United States. So there's a lot of travel already happening. Not that like going to Chicago for a half marathon is travel, but it's just already a lot of stuff. I don't see myself doing that. Oh, I remember. The other thing was the I might do the Rose Bowl half marathon. I want to be in LA where it's warm to run. Not so much along the lakefront in Chicago. There'll be plenty of time for cold weather running. The winter is long, but I might do that one. Maybe. We'll see. So I have it kind of like penciled in on the calendar. It's one that I've been trying to run for like the last couple of years. It just hasn't worked out. All right. We're getting some not international, I guess nationwide weather reports. All Heart RC says it's been a super nice morning in SoCal, 61 degrees Fahrenheit. So awesome. That sounds really nice. And Vanessa says Austin had a morning low of 67 degrees a few days ago. Brr, chilly. I mean, I guess compared to what you guys have had, that probably was cold. Did people bust out their UGG boots? I feel like people probably busted out their UGG boots. Question for people in Austin. So like UT's down there. And I was listening to people in Austin, obviously you guys know, but it's context. I was listening to a podcast, Dominic Schluter, Running Effect podcast, and he was interviewing someone who transferred to UT as an NCAA Division I athlete. And that athlete, when they got there, bought a cowboy hat and cowboy boots. Or I think they already had cowboy boots, but then also bought a cowboy hat. I feel like, I don't know. Can you do that? I feel like that would be frowned upon to just get there and start buying a hat. I don't know. Number one, I think it's historically very weird for Asian people to wear. Not that this person was Asian. I actually don't know if they were Asian or not. Number one, I think it's kind of weird for Asian people to wear cowboy hats. And number two, I think we look weird in cowboy hats for the most part. I mean, I'm not going to speak for everybody, all the Asians, but this Asian looks very strange in a cowboy hat. And I just feel like people will be like, dude, you're from New Jersey. You cannot wear that cowboy hat. That's how I feel. What do you guys think about that? Like, I'm especially interested to hear what the local Texans would think about it. I don't know. Terry says, cowboy boots and a hat, hard pass. It's just wrong. I mean, I feel like if you grew up that way, if that's your culture, or if you are a rancher, an actual current rancher, great. Makes sense. If you're having a night out in the town in Nashville, fine. But I just feel like to have it, I don't know. JC says, I've been here 46 years, no hat, no boots. Just not me. All right. Here. This I think is a good one. Video Guy Man 7 says, Asian guy, born and raised in Houston. I haven't wear cowboy boots, but can't do the hat. See, I think that's probably where I would end up if I ended up moving down there. Not that we have plans, but I think I would get the boots. Because I don't know if you guys follow me on Instagram, but I just posted a reel the other day. I've been getting these really beautiful motorcycle reels that have been popping up in my Instagram. And one of them was like someone was riding a Triumph motorcycle through the Isle of Man, the island in Great Britain. A route that I would love to be able to ride one day. And did you guys hear that? What's happening here? Okay, sorry. My headphones just went weird. And I've just been thinking about riding a motorcycle again lately. And I feel like if I lived somewhere where cowboy hats were worn or cowboy boots were worn, And if I were riding a motorcycle again, I might get motorcycle boots. But even then, probably not. They just don't seem very comfortable to me. Mixtape Tony says, I'm Vietnamese, born in Houston, Austin, raised. And no, I do not own a pair of boots or a cowboy hat. I do own hiking boots and a Legionnaire hat. Love that. Love that. uh, um, you guys are so funny. Sean Devlin says the Isle of Man has no speed limit. Is that true? I did not know that. Man, have you ever seen the race? It is crazy. Ooh, I think that'd be so. I mean, I don't think I'm skilled. I would not be skilled enough to try and race that thing. But watching that race, I'd love to watch it. Although, like, if you're how do I don't even know how people spectate it. The bikes come through so fast. Like, you can't even see them. They're that fast. Video says, I'm Texan, and most people these days wear them as ironic. You got to have a big personality. You know, the real cowboys from the rural areas. Yeah, that's kind of what I would think. And I don't want people to think that I'm poking fun at the culture or what. I mean, I would look so silly in them that people would be like, oh, he must be doing this to make fun of it. You know? So I don't know. Frank says, we occasionally see people wearing actual sombreros around here. It keeps the sun off. I feel like me wearing a sombrero would make a lot more sense, and I would get fewer looks if I wore an actual sombrero rather than a cowboy hat. How big are real sombreros, though? Like, I'm not talking about the stuff that you get at like the Tex-Mex restaurant, like the novelty sized ones. They're not normally that big, right? They got to be small. I don't think I've ever. I mean, I've seen some of them. I've never tried one on. I think not a regular size one. You know. Kevin Wong says, I went to the Fort Worth stockyards and the cowboy hats were everywhere. Felt like Cowboy Cosplay Central. I don't know what Fort Worth is, but if it's stockyards are still actual stockyards, that makes a lot of sense. You know what's crazy is, you know where I see the most cowboy hats? Denver Airport. You know, I've spent time in Austin, I spent time in Houston, and it usually does not take me more than 10 minutes after arriving in either of those cities to like spot someone in a cowboy hat. And for me, it's always remarkable. Like how I imagine most people would react to seeing like Amish, right? I grew up in Western New Jersey. Part of my growing up was in Western New Jersey, very close to Amish country. I'm familiar, comfortable seeing that. I've seen it. There's also a lot of Amish or Pennsylvania Dutch. I'm not sure exactly what the differences are, to be honest with you. I know that there are differences, but I've seen them. There are some in the Midwest too. In Iowa, some of the rural parts near where my in-laws are, there are communities there. I've seen them. Doesn't make me flinch. But I feel like if I see someone in a cowboy hat, I want to go up to them and ask questions. I have so many. Yeah, Cosmic Pineapple Michael says, whenever there's a country music concert in Boston, I see tons of people dressing up in boots and hats on the train, but never any of the time. See, that makes sense from your. I don't think that's an expression of culture. I think that's more of an expression of celebration. I understand that. That's cool. But yeah, I don't know. Like every time I see it, because then there's like the novelty ones that people might wear to a night out. But then there's the ones that are like, oh, that's a hat. That's a cowboy hat. Like someone handmade that. That is not a $20 item. That's a $200 to like a $400 item. Like I could tell, right? Whenever I see someone wearing one of those, that's when I want to ask questions. Like, why are you wearing that? Where did you get it? Does your family wear cowboy hats? You know, like those are the kinds of things I want to know, basically. Fugington says Montana's full of cowboy hats, so I can believe Colorado is similar. I feel like that makes sense to me. Denver makes a little bit less sense to me. You know, but yeah, like there's vast open spaces, there's cattle, there's ranchers, there's cowboy hats. I get it. But like I mean like when we did the hut run, I didn't see a single cowboy hat. Not that I saw that many people to begin with. Didn't see a single cowboy hat. When I'm in the downtown Denver, I see cowboy hats. That's what kind of is interesting to me. Ray Martin wants to know, are trucker hats the new kind of cowboy hats? I don't know. You're asking the wrong guy. And Adam says, the cowboys and girls who come from ranches, they wear boots and hats in Colorado, even when they visit the big city. That makes sense. You wouldn't, I guess maybe you're not changing the hat, Calvin says, though, I doubt that the true cowboy hat enthusiasts wear their nice ones to the airport. See, I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Daniel Burton says Boulder is big on cowboy hats. Is it? I don't know. Maybe I've seen some when I've been in Boulder. I'm not sure. Yeah. I was on Threads this morning, and Jonathan Levitt posted something on Zillow. There's a house in his neighborhood. It's a nice house. He's like, does anyone want to be my neighbor? And he posted the link to the Zillow listing. The house is listed for $1 million. It's a lot of house. Well, I don't know if it wasn't a lot of house, but it was a lot of money. I suppose if you've got $1 million to spend on a house, you could probably also spend quite a bit on fancy cowboy hats. Frank says, no one's ever worn a cowboy hat on my dad's ranch in Fountain, Colorado. Yeah, I don't know. Here's the thing. Here's the thing that I think would be strange. I think I just need to spend more time around cowboys, maybe. City Slickers, one of my favorite movies. They all wear their baseball caps. And they get teased, and they're like, look how city slicker they are because they're wearing baseball caps. But now I do feel like a lot of ranchers might be wearing ball caps. Or are they wearing cowboy hats? Probably. I'm not sure. This is yeah. It's topical because I do have hats to talk about today in this box, but this is the longest we've gone talking about cowboy hats ever on this running live stream. Jairus Royo says future live stream unboxing a cowboy hat. I just I don't think I would want one, and I don't think I would unbox one because I've tried wearing cowboy hats before, and I don't think I'd feel comfortable wearing one anywhere, nor do I think they even look good on me. Heather B says, my dad was definitely not a cowboy, but always wore one unless he was cutting wood. Then it was a trucker hat. All right. Eric says there's a first time for everything on a live stream, partner. I don't know. Cosmic Final Michael says, well, what if there's a CLA cowboy hat? Okay. If CLA makes a cowboy hat, I will ask them to send me one, and I will unbox it on the live stream. Vanessa Martinez says, my grandfather was a true Mexican cowboy and wore hats and boots all the time. His uncle rode with Pancho Villa, so the tradition carried down the generations. See, that makes sense. And that's the kind of story that I would hope to get. Like if I feel like it'd be rude to ask someone wearing a cowboy hat, like, tell me about your cowboy hat. But if I did somehow, like maybe I was at the airport bar and I had a couple and I was feeling a little bit adventurous enough to talk to a stranger, I might say like, hey, can you tell me about your cowboy hat? I would hope it would make my day if someone was like, well, you know what? My grandfather used to wear one and he used to ride with, like that'd be amazing. I'd be like, I would tip my imaginary cowboy hat to that guy, But yeah. Daniel Burton says, can you run in a cowboy hat? I don't know, but I feel like we should give one to Jim Walmsley. We should try and get one to Jim Walmsley to see if he would run in it. I mean, he was a Coconino cowboy after all, right? Calvin said, the hardest part of running with a cowboy hat would be tipping it to every runner that goes by. All right. Speaking of hats, I've had this box at the house for a little while, but I feel like now it's a really good time to open it up. I did kind of open it up in the beginning because I had no idea what it was. It was just, it had a wrapper around it, and I didn't recognize the name. And then I started opening it, and I realized it was hats, and then I got an email from Fractel. And they sent me a box full of hats. Should we go through them all? I don't know. It's a bag of hats. And then a couple of other loose hats in here. So I guess we're doing this. Let's go. Let's go with this bag first. It's a littler bag. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my headphones off, so I won't be able to hear myself in case something goes. If something goes wrong with the audio, you're going to have to let me know. But we got a couple of bucket hats here. Speaking of Walmsley. Ooh, look at this one. Both of these hats have like topographical designs underneath. This one is like mesh on top. I feel like I don't think that bucket hats look all that great on me, but of all the bucket hats I've tried, Fractel ones look the best, I think. Remember how we talked about we could do it blossom style? But no, I feel like I've been wearing these like to the lake. I wore one when we went apple picking. It was super hot that day. Very comfortable to wear them. They got a little cinchy thing in the back. Ooh, this one's extra big. This is the large XL. The other one was large XL, but this one feels so much bigger. It feels so much roomier. This one says Fractel real big. But this stuff that's on the top, it's like a quick drying material. So like when I'm really hot, you could dunk the hat and then this will be evaporative cooling on top. So it works really well. So I do like this one. They like inscribe words on the inside. This one says Mountain Magic. This one says hashtag why we run. So a couple of different messages in there. All right, I'm just going to go on through these in the top to bottom of these hats. We've got another Legionnaire hat from Fractel here. It's made out of Reprieve, so out of recycled water bottles. This one also says hashtag why we run on the inside. Oh, this one's bigger. This one's way bigger than the one that I currently have of these Legionnaire hats. This one was, I remember it being very hot when I ran with it in Atlanta on a hot day with Drew. I think this material is a little bit thinner than the one that I had on, but I feel like this isn't going to really keep you from being hot, but it will protect you from elements. So if I was running in the sand, I would probably wear this because it'll just protect any of the wind blown sand from getting at you. And I feel like in a desert type of environment, I'd want to be protected. Now, the thing about this hat, will it work? Yeah, so you can kind of button it up top. And I feel like it looks kind of like a Sherlock Holmesy type of hat if you want to put the flaps out of the way. But like, there's still this back part here. I don't know. I like the Legionnaire hat, but I just feel like its use case is pretty limited for me as someone that already has long hair. But they are fun to wear. Vanessa is so freaking adorable. Stevie 76 is Imperial Japan vibes, maybe. Calvin says I'm Corinth of Arabia. All right. Jennifer Herring says, am I going to cross the desert soon? No, but I feel like also in like snowy times could be nice. If it's a very arid, powdery snow, you know. Adam says I need to sign up for Marathon des Sables. I'm not that interested in that. I mean, if you got to wear gaiters to keep the sand out, I just don't like running in sand. I feel like the whole race is just sand. All right, next Fractel hat. Ooh, this is a different material back here. It's a lot thinner. It's kind of like the stretchy thin material on the top of the bucket hat. Is this the same size? The last one said 62 centimeters. This says 62 centimeters in here. It feels a little bit more snug than the last one. But I feel like this one might work a little bit better in some warmer temps because this material feels like it's much thinner and breathes a little bit better. But ultimately, I'm going to have the same limitations, or I'm not going to need it in the same way I didn't need the last one because of my longer hair. But usually, on the other hand, when I run, I keep my hair away from myself. So I don't know. All right. That's another Legionnaire hat. I think after there was like the initial fervor over the Legionnaire hats this summer, and they sold out. So I feel like when these come out, I think this is fall or winter stuff. When these come out, they'll finally have some more supply of the Legionnaire hats for those of you who are looking to hop on that train. All right. Another power dry hat with that stretchy, like cooling material. More topo designs on the brim. There you go. What's this? Blue? Lots of blues? Many blues? There we go. It fits, like, I mean, it's a little bit loose in the back. I got to tighten it a little bit. There we go. I feel like the Fractel hats are a little bit like wide right here, a little bit. So it always kind of feels like I'm wearing like a little bit of a mini helmet when I wear the Fractel hats. But there's a lot of room in this part of the hat, which I feel like sometimes other hats do not. So roomy. I like this one. Digital camo. My favorite kind. They're doubling down. They are more than doubling down on the. If you need urban camo, this is it. This is it, guys. This is the hat that you need. This is amazing. I love this one. It's Polar Tech. So this one is definitely designed to keep you cooler. I'm gonna try running with this one in the winter because normally in the winter I'm like a knit cap kind of guy, you know. But this I feel like will keep me a little bit warmer, keep the elements out. If it gets very cold, you know, I can button up, and then you won't even see me. I'll be invisible. All right, this one is not. Ooh, this one is Polar Tech. This hat is like fleece. It's got the Fractal logo, the graphic logo on the back. But it's thicker material. It's fleece material up top to keep you warmer. I've got to tighten all these. They come too loose to me. So I got to tighten them up a little bit. But what I like about these Fractal hats, they have this little clippy thing on the back. So when you adjust it, you can keep all that extra material tucked away. Oh, it feels nice and soft. I like it. Very, very nice to the touch. So I just said how nice that fleece material is. Well, they also have it. This is giant. This just feels so big. But they also have it in Legionnaire. So fleece Legionnaire hat feels huge, but it's the same 62 centimeters, and it's Polar Tech. And you can tighten it up. There's a little cinchy thing in the back here. There we go. This will keep you warm for days. Whew. Look at that. Look at this stuff. Do you think that'll work? I mean, I feel like I normally go with like a winter hat and a buff in the winter, you know? But I feel like I could do buff, this, and then if I get some ski goggles, I can run in all sorts of cold temperatures. says why we run on the inside and then Fractel on the top. Calvin says, if you need a Felice Legionnaire hat, surely a balaclava would do better. Maybe. Balaclavas are very restrictive, though. I feel like it's a decision. And I've never worn a balaclava and never kind of regretted it halfway through the run. Have you ever had that happen? It's just so it becomes so clammy. Not to say that a Felice Legionnaire hat might not be clammy later, but we could try it. All right. Ooh. Pop a color this time on this one. Everything looks like it's perforated on this one. Yeah, I don't know if I'm comfortable with this much color. But it's a lot of color. This will be fun. I feel like on a hot day, this will be nice. I feel like I need... I should have brought a hair tie down here. So I think there's one over there. So I could wear these how I would normally wear it to get a feel for it. But this one works. And I feel like it's thinner, so it doesn't give me that mini helmet feeling that some of the Fractal hats do. So this one is a fit that I really like. I like it. Mark says it looks like Marty McFly 2015. It does kind of have that kind of neon colors, or what 1985 thought 2015 would be like, I like it. And then they went from the craziest colors to just a nice white one. I have been really enjoying hats that are very perforated or ventilated. So this one, I just think it's these bands that are here that get extra thick and that kind of give it that sensation. But this one works. I can wear this one. It's not as thin on the sides as this one, it feels like. The material is slightly different. So maybe that's what's giving that. Again, it's that cut that gives a lot of room in, I guess, the forehead. Is that what we're calling that? All right, 2 more, guys. This is green. 2 kinds of green and a black. Maybe. I think that's what this is. It's that stretchy material up top. It's got a diamond pattern on the bill. I like this one. Kind of matches the shirt that I'm wearing today. AJ wants to know, are these better quality than Boco hats? I think Boco has a really wide range of product. And I feel like for a lot of the Boco trucker hats, the visor, the bill part, doesn't always wash well. I've washed my Fractal hats a bunch of times and they tend to survive really well. This one's nice. I like this. Again, much bigger than the bicycle style hats that are around on the market. So I feel like these are big head friendly, Calvin says, I wear a lot of hats for my job. All right. Fashion Girona wants to know where they are made. Made in China. 100% polyester, at least this one. Exclusive of trims. I don't know what that means. Machine wash cold, do not bleach, do not tumble dry. I like this one. And they all have the little claspy things in the back. So if you do have your ponytail set up, you can then just clasp them around the ponytail and they would click in. And then you're good to go. If you had your hair up. And Frank is letting me know that the hat green clashes with the shirt green. Well, it's good to know because I can never tell. All right. And here's the last one. I don't ever think I've seen a Fractal logo like this one before. It's a little Twilight mountainscape. Gotta roll these visors a little bit. Again, it's like that very almost see-through mesh material. I do like this logo in the back. I like this blue one. Is this blue? Is it purple? I think it's purple, but so it means it's probably blue. I like this one. I think I like this one and this one the best. This super weird color one. And then very excited to try digital camo and then the fleece. I wanted to say balaclava, the fleece Legionnaire. So those are the hats. Those are the hats that I think that are on the top of my list. They sent a lot of them. I think these will all be available on Fractel soon. I'm not sure exactly when that's going to be. All right. Martha says for that blue hat that I think is purple, she says it's not even close to purple. I mean, it looks as purple can be to me. But that's just my color blindness. It looks very like this. This isn't purple. You sure, Martha? I think you might be colorblind. Daniel Burton says, yeah, the last one is the best. It's an A. Cole Blue says the digital camo is not cute. I know, but it's fun though. I think it's super fun. I don't know why I like digital camo so much. The military doesn't even like digital camo. See, I wish I could just. I mean, these are more Legionnaire hats than I know what to do with. Let me tell you what, guys. And I just don't know where I'm going to wear all of these hats. It's going to be very hard for me. I think, you know what? I think I'm just going to have to, like, maybe at the next get together, I'm just going to have to give these all away because I cannot. A single man cannot wear this many Legionnaire hats. So I'll bring a couple in a bag, and then if anyone wants one, you can have one. Okay. All right. There we go. Tales of Melissa's hair. What about Kofuzi Run Clip hats? There are no Kofuzi Run Clip hats. There are non-elite hats. But maybe do we need a Kofuzi Run Club hat? I don't know. We'll have to see. Adam says, what color was Barney? Barney was purple. Barney was purple like Grimace, the chicken nugget. You know? Yeah. Vanessa says, the box was an A+, just for the image of Ko as a Legionnaire. Yeah, I mean, did the Legionnaires wore those kinds of hat, right? That's where the name of the hat comes from. That was part of the official uniform. They fought in the Sahara with like that, right? I don't know. JC says, what color do you see when the Minnesota Vikings play? Well, I know they're purple, and that also affects how I see color somehow. But it looks very purple to me. Lighting also has an effect. I mean, the lighting in here, I like to think is good because I lit it myself. But lighting can also frequently have an impact on how I perceive a color too. All right, Mark says the top of the Marty McFly one is purple. Yeah, I agree with you on that. This looks purple, but there are many kinds of purple. Like, is Midnight a purple or a blue? Midnight always looks like a little bit like a very, very dark purple to me. But the more I think about it, the less that makes sense. So this is more like a midnight. Eggplant, is that purple? Those all kind of look, I don't know. We're exploring my color blindness yet again here on the live stream. Yeah. So that's just how it goes. Oh yeah, you know what, guys? Before I forget, I had a creator spotlight that I wanted to give you guys today. Someone I've been enjoying their content on Instagram or on Threads or on YouTube or wherever. We've been calling it anti-ad reads, but I don't want to make it a negative thing. But I do want to shout out to people who I feel like are doing a really good job in social media in running, and that I've been enjoying, and I think that you guys might like too. I feel like we got to figure a creator spotlight doesn't sound right. We got to figure out something else. But the person I want to show you guys today and suggest that you guys give a follow is Here it is. Emily Moore, dietitian, runner. She certainly doesn't need my help. She's almost as big as I am on Instagram. But it's just been really fun to follow her account. She's a running dietitian. Um, so she knows what she's talking about when it comes to nutrition and stuff. But also, like, her emphasis is on not like restricting yourself in terms of caloric restriction or dietary intake, but like really focusing on food as fuel. A lot of the stuff that I've been having conversations with my daughter about as she gets into the cross country season. And so I feel like it's, positive messages. Her videos and reels are always very positive, and I've just been really enjoying her content. So go and check her out. The Dietitian Runner, all one word, on Instagram, Emily Moore. Really fun. So that is today's spotlight, I guess. I don't know. What should we call it? Hopefully, you guys, you like that segment. All right. Let's see what else we got here, and then I gotta get ready for my run today. Let's end on this. Netaku has a question about fueling. Speaking of a dietitian runner, not that I'm not a dietitian, but speaking of nutrition for running. Netaku says, I know each person is different, but recommendation on gels for a half? One before, then one each 4 miles is the question. That's usually, I don't usually do like the gel before. That's never made like a ton of sense to me to eat a gel like right before the race. Feels like it's just a lot of nervous energy, like doing something for the sake of doing something. Although in theory, it makes a lot of sense to me. Something that I've never done. But I usually bring 2 to 3. I think I usually bring 3 gels with me for a half marathon, and I usually end up taking 2. So eating them about every 4 miles is about how I do it as well. When you're running a half marathon, you're going to be running harder than you would for a marathon. So in theory, the way that I see it, you're going to be burning through sugars faster than you would for a marathon. But at the same time, the race is shorter than a marathon. And for a half marathon, you're not worried about glycogen depletion. So like staying fully topped up on your sugars isn't quite as an imperative as it would be for a marathon, where you're really hoping that like your glycogen levels get depleted and your like blood sugar levels get depleted all at the same time, hopefully just shortly after you cross the finish line. With a half marathon, you're not worried about those glycogen levels so much. So you can kind of get away with less, but like I don't ever want to just get away with surviving a race. I want to think about what's optimal. And for me, like I don't like to eat gels more than every 4 miles for me. So like when you think about like the way that like the elites talk about it and they do 8 bottles over the course of their marathons, that's 8 bottles over the course of just a little bit more than 2 hours. That's one every 15 minutes. That's a lot. I don't like taking in that much fluid and or gels. And it's just not that pleasant for me. So like for me, 20 minutes at a time is about as fast as I will like to eat gels. Um, and I think for a half marathon, that's more than plenty, is every 20 minutes. I think 20 to 25 minutes is probably where I'd kind of target it. And I usually give myself a little bit of leeway depending on how I'm feeling. Where do I want to take the gel? So that's looking at like 2 to 3 for me. Yeah. Well, every 20 minutes would be 3, almost, would be about 4 if I do every 20 minutes, but maybe I skip the last one. So maybe every 3. But everyone has to do a little bit of experimenting. Alex S says, Yoko, Chicago's fast approaching. Wahoo! How off is Garmin with mileage? Is everyone making this a bigger deal than it really is? Or is the pace mileage really off? Thanks. Well, there are parts of it where you're literally running underground. So your GPS is going to be completely off. I'd say like it throws you off by like a half mile or so. So, I would either not really rely on your Garmin to like accurately capture every single mile split, or like hit a lap button like the mile after you come out, when you see a mile marker after you come out from like underground. That could be one way to do it. But also, there are lots of urban canyons that you're running through the Chicago Marathon, and that can throw things off as well. So, what I've been doing for all of my marathons, and not just Chicago, is like I've just been worrying about 5K splits, like on race day, right? And just knowing that like I want to hit about 20 something minutes per 5K split. And if I need to adjust up or down, I can adjust up or down. But like I don't really want to be worrying too much and thinking too much about pace at that minute a level for a marathon. Um, I had another follow up point to that, but I totally lost it. But that's kind of how I would look at it. If you really need to have those like mile by mile splits, then I really suggest that you get like a stride foot pod, something that's GPS independent way of determining pace and distance. That's what I would recommend. Mm. Martha says, "How should I set my basic simple Garmin 35? I will remember to hit a lap button. Just let it get screwed up and correct itself in the open stretches. It won't correct itself because it's not going to be like, oh, you've run further and let me tack on a couple of miles. So I feel like one of the like what you can do is just like think about like what your set up your watch so that it has total time. I don't know if the Garmin 35 has the feature of like it can figure out what pace you need to run based on the amount of distance. I don't even know if that would work well because it's all going to be GPS based. So here's what I'm thinking. Have total elapsed time as something that you have as a field for your watch so you can know how long you've been running. And then you can look at it based on like when you pass like the different mile markers. So you can figure out how far along you are in the race and you can figure out your pace that way. Cause like in the moment, when you're not near in an urban canyon, which is pretty much anytime you're downtown and some parts of when you're on the north side, or when you're underground too, which is the only time you're underground is when you're downtown. But the other times, your pace will be fine. It just won't be correct for your mile splits. You know what I mean? So like I wouldn't either your pace is going to be way off or it'll be fine. It's kind of how it works. So like if that's what you're looking at, I think you'll be okay. Just remember that like later when you go look at your Strava, the numbers are going to be a little bit wonky. That makes sense? Adam says they have mile markers. Are they accurate? Why not use them? I think they're accurate enough. I mean, I've never second guessed whether they're accurate enough. And I believe there's markers every 5K. So I usually use 5K markers. Um, yeah, I mean, that's what I've been doing because it's like any race, I would just assume that there'll be some sort of GPS type of disturbance. And in the lead up, I think now I remember my second point. On the day of, I like to go by 5K splits. But in the lead up to that, I really like to practice what race effort feels like, regardless of what the pace is. What is the effort that I think I can hold for? For me, it was 3 hours. And so that way, like when it's time to race, run at that effort that I've been practicing, and whatever the pace ends up being, the pace ends up being. You're running to your fitness, not to a wishful time on a clock. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I see it. And then I take the 5K splits are important to me. One, to check in to make sure I'm running, see how I'm doing, because I'm always curious. But also, a lot of the times it's just so that way it reminds me, okay, for another 5K coming up, time to check in on the GoPro on the camera, make sure I'm narrating enough of the race so I can have a good video to show you guys later. But yeah, I think that the mile markers is a great way to do it. Sometimes though, I just don't see the mile markers. You know what I mean? There's so much to see. You might get distracted. Maybe you're looking down and eating a gel. Sometimes I just don't see the mile markers. And so there's that always as a possibility. But if you the hard thing is like if you can't rely on your watch, you also can't it's hard to use the clocks that are on the course because like the clocks start running way before I would cross the start line. So then you have to like do math. I'm like, okay, well, I'm 8.5 minutes back from the start. So this shows me 28 minutes. That means this first 5K was 20 minutes and a half. Is that good or bad? I have to do some math. So that's where like having it on your own watch is always helpful. Mm. CV76 says, "Do you ever write the pace times on your arm?" Um, I have never done that. When it took me, after the first couple times of not hitting under 3 hours, then I started thinking about stuff like that. Like, do I want those? Do I want to make sure that, I'm not inadvertently digging myself too big a hole by taking it too easy in the middle sections of a race when mentally, I may not have the most focus. So I've thought about that. And they sell like these days they sell the wristbands. So you could see it really easily. Although I find that the print is really small. So I don't know. I don't think it's wrong to write the times on your forearm. I think it's kind of cool to do it. I saw a woman right before UTMB. She had the topo map or the elevation chart drawn really large on her. It took up her entire forearm, and I thought that was pretty cool. And then she had markers for where all like the aid stations were. So I thought that was pretty cool. And for a 110-mile race, 106-mile race, makes a lot of sense to do that. But I've never written pace times on my arm before. I usually just try to remember what are the 5K splits that I'm trying to run. All right. I think that's going to be a good place to leave it for today. Tomorrow, we won't have another video. I'm working on the Koros Pace 3 video. I filmed it. Actually, I have to film it twice because the first time the microphone had a little bit of a user error problem. So I had to film it twice. But hopefully that video should come out, but probably more like Thursday. So tomorrow will be no video, but we'll do another live stream, same time as today, 1 p.m. Central Time. Hopefully I see you then. Hopefully, maybe we'll have time to play a game. Let's see if I can figure out a game for tomorrow. I think that should be fun. Maybe. I'm going to prioritize getting this watch video out because I'm already kind of late on it anyway. But either way, I'll see you tomorrow, same time as today. In the meantime, be safe out there, everybody. Thanks.